friends. Welcome to the Seek Holy Living podcast with christasvoboda. I am a wife to my wonderful husband, mom to my 5 precious children, and a friend to some amazing moms that I can't wait to introduce to you. Mothering is not a journey meant to be traveled alone. Join me every Monday for a new podcast where you will find hope, joy, and purpose.
Being a woman who can speak life into the heart of a growing girl is a privilege and beautiful gift from God. Today, we will be hearing from a friend, Toney, founder of Girl Tribe Nation and creator of the program Raising Amazing Tween Girls. She is a pastor, a mother to 4 wonderful children, and is here to share her wisdom on how to speak into the lives of the girls that God has given us. Whether you have a daughter, a niece, a granddaughter, or even a friendship with a young girl, you will leave our time together today with a renewed sense of purpose and the importance of your role in her life.
Well, thank you, Lisa, so much for being here today.
Thanks, Krista, for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Me too. So I'm just going to let you jump in since this is your
awesome
baby, and you have just received this exciting vision that you really created something wonderful here. And I'm just excited for you to get to share with moms of girls in this transitional time some wonderful resources you've created for them. So go ahead. You can jump in and tell us about what you've created.
Okay, awesome. Thanks. Well, I actually never intended to be here. I found myself getting involved in discussions in the public schools about where my tween girl was heading and talking to other moms. And I ended up just doing a deep dive in kind of looking at tween life and what that looks like and what resources are out there for our tween girls. And honestly, Krista, I just didn't like a lot of what I saw out there. And so I'm just really concerned about kind of the direction that so many organizations are pushing our tween girls. And so in doing this deep dive, I just felt like the Lord called me to kind of get involved and make a difference and do something. If I didn't like what was out there, then start something. So I started writing and talking to people and researching, and Girl Tribe Nation was born out of that desire to really reach tween girls through their moms.
Yes. Well, and I really liked when I got to look at it all that it's so relational. That I think so many things, either things are put in front of the girls to say, here's this for you, and then it's like separate. But it shouldn't be separate. It should be bonding and relational, and it's so relational.
Yes, and that was one of the things that I wanted to be unique about Girl Tribe Nation and all of our resources, that I would put things out for the moms to know how to help teach and equip their teen daughters and their tween girls for what was happening in their bodies through puberty. So when we talk about tween girls, we're talking like ages 9 to 12. So it's right during that time when your hormones kick in and all the things start happening to change your body. And that's a really scary time for tweens. And a lot of us moms didn't have an awesome way that we found out about puberty and growing up and all those things. And so I
remember some friends not even knowing anything.
Oh, yeah.
And teaching, I taught 5th grade for a little while. So 5th grade and 6th grade. So like right in that age range. And I remember some of the girls actually feeling really scared, like not knowing.
Oh, yes.
And I thought, has nobody talked with you?
Yeah.
And nobody had. And they had a thing at the school I was at for 6th graders. But there was nothing in 5th. And some of these girls were already jumping into this. And then there's others. It's so interesting how it happens at such different times for different girls.
It is.
That there were some who were still like such babies and some who were practically women, like all at the same time.
All in the same age group. It is so challenging. And that's the thing. We never know what age puberty is going to start. It's really, it does a little bit genetics, based on when maybe your mom or your aunties or your sisters all kind of went through puberty. But it is happening younger and younger for our girls these days. And so I think moms need to have a sense for that and an awareness for what to look for when their girls are starting puberty and what kind of changes are going to be happening, not only physically in their bodies, but also emotionally and mentally. Puberty does a whole number on changing us, and it's supposed to happen that way. It's the transition of getting us ready from being a kid to being a young woman, and so it's a really special time. And I wanted moms to be more intentional and have better resources.
Yes.
So that's why I started Girl Tribe Nation, to start some online classes and resources for moms to find ways to be intentional. I think we all have great desires and intentions, but we're busy.
Right. Making it happen
is like a totally
it's
different
so
thing.
hard, you know?
Yeah.
And I thought, gosh, if I could just create the favorite things that we do is these mother-daughter great dates.
Oh, I loved that when I was listening to it.
Yeah. And so we'll talk about a topic of, what it means to be an introvert or an extrovert. Like most of these girls have never heard that term, and they just think their friends are not talking to them, or they think that I would never want to be alone. If you're an extrovert, why do they want to be alone? And they just don't understand each other, Yeah. So some of the things that we know as adults, we've got to figure out how to communicate to our tweens. And then I create a mother-daughter great date so they can go out for froyo or Starbucks.
Yes, I loved how simple it sounded.
Boba. Yeah. And then you can just download it to your phone, and you can print it out if you want to. And then I just give you a few questions. And so you don't have to stay up all night thinking about it or research it. Just download it and go. And then you can have a great discussion. And those are the things your daughter's going to remember.
Yes.
They're going to remember you going out and having those conversations. And the whole goal of this was to help these girls hear it from their moms first. That we want moms to be the ones they want to go to ask all the questions. And if they don't think that you want to talk to them about it, then they're going to turn to the internet or their friends or someone else. And we want it to be moms.
Yeah. I remember someone saying once, they're going to hear it from somewhere, so you can decide where that's going to be.
Absolutely.
And how important for it to be your mom.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what are some of the main areas that Girl Tribe Nation focuses on?
That is so fun. We are talking about 4 core areas of that we're really pouring into our girls, and that we believe girls can be smart, they can be brave, they can be healthy, and they can live with a whole lot more happy in their lives. So we try and wrap everything in our curriculum around those core 4 ideas, equipping our girls how to be smart, how to make wise decisions, what that looks like, how to be brave, how to be more courageous and do hard things in life, that they can do that and what that looks like. We talk a lot about being healthy and how to make healthy choices, and that some of the things that people are telling you can or should be participating in as your body matures is not necessarily a healthy choice for your future outcomes.
Wow.
So we want
What an interesting way to go about it too.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
We really want girls to think about I talk about reverse engineering your life. Like, what kind of life do you think you want to have as a grown-up, even if it's a long ways away? And how do we reverse back to the decisions that we're making now as tweens that is going to lead into being teenagers, which is going to lead into being college students, to get to that place in your life? And then we really believe if we can work on these things, that it's going to bring a whole lot more happy into the girls' lives. And, you've seen the stats, Krista. I mean, suicide and depression, anxiety, stress in these tween girls is through the roof.
I just can't even imagine now. Because again, I think about, I left the middle school classroom 12 years ago, and watching it from a young adult perspective, because I was really young at the time. So I felt like an older sibling to them more than like a mom.
Yes.
Because I could have been their sister. I could not have been their mother at that point. And so my heart just went out to them.
Yes.
And the changes that I've seen in the last decade are so much further down that road that I think these kids need it more than ever. And they do need it from their moms. And I think when you start opening that door in a way early enough, in a way that it's fun and that it's light. I loved that the way that you introduced all of these things, and the curriculum, as I was watching the videos, starts at such a light, easy level that it feels exciting.
Good.
Like, even the way you talked about the brain development and stuff, it felt like if I were a girl and I were hearing that, I would think, wow, this is happening to me. This is so exciting about myself, rather than it just being this like, we're going to talk about something that's going to happen to your body, and you're going to want to know about this. Like, no, I would feel so excited for the next date.
Good. That's what we've tried to do. Just make it fun colors and high energy. And like, this is a really exciting time in life. It doesn't need to be scary, and it doesn't need to be something that you're going to live in fear about. It's different, but we can navigate this, And the thing with going through puberty is everybody has some just crazy stories, So I want moms to remember all those crazy things that happened and make those stories fun, to share those as you're talking about all the things to equip her for having her first period, or, growing breasts and getting bras and what that looks like, and how you go about doing all those things, So body care just looks different when you hit puberty, and it doesn't have to be awful. I don't think, when I talk to some moms, they're so stressed about their girls going through tween years, and these can be great great years. We have such an opportunity, and it's such a privilege to get to walk alongside our girls during this time. But we also have a responsibility,
right?
You know,
it doesn't just happen automatically.
Absolutely. And so I think we've got to find good resources, you know, to be able to know how to communicate, whether that's through a book or an online class or a video or, you know, whatever is your jam to make that happen for your family.
Yeah. Well, and I remember the difference of growing up too. And I feel like my mom did it very intentionally, and I was so proud. I remember specifically when we went shopping for the first time to get me like my first bra, and I thought, this is such an exciting thing. I'm so proud about it. And it was not at a convenient time in life. Our family was moving across the country, but like she could leave everyone else with my grandma and took me alone to some store at a mall. We didn't even like live there, but she knew this was time. And so she did. And I was so proud of it. And I remember there being other friends who were just so scared because it was like, well, here, this is for you. And like, that was all. And even like when I started my cycle, what an exciting time it was that it was like, congratulations, this is that thing we've been talking about. And so it was an exciting thing. But it took intentionality. Yeah,
it does. And I think, you know, if we didn't have a mom who raised us that way, or we didn't have that great of experience, we're kind of like, okay, I do want to do it better, but what do I do?
How?
And the great thing is there's so many good resources out there, whether it's Girl Tribe Nation or other resources, there's some good ones out there. And so, you know, you don't have to feel like you need to reinvent the wheel, you know,
or do it all on your own.
No, you know, but I think the important part is to put it in your calendar so that you're intentional, because before you know it, it will be here, you know?
Well, and my sweet oldest girl is 8, which was funny for me listening to these because I was thinking, oh, this is great. And I have kind of a tween boy right now, but I wasn't even thinking about it like with her on my radar because she's just so sweet and tender.
Yes.
But it was good for me to think about, no, it's coming. This is near.
It's coming.
So I'm glad that I'll have it to use.
Good. I'm so glad. Yeah. We've had the opportunity to even go into some local schools and do a Girl Tribe Nation event. And that has been so cool because when I go back on campus, they'll be like, Mrs. Toney, Girl Tribe Nation was so awesome. And they just like celebrate what we were talking about and what we were learning. And it's just neat to see girls feeling like they can embrace these ideas and not be nervous or scared or, you know, bully each other, but really just celebrate where each other is at.
Yeah. Well, and you talked about the changes that you go through being some of the greatest, was it the greatest change or growth since you were an infant or one?
Yeah. Once you hit puberty, once your brain is activated with the hormones in your hypothalamus, tween girls can grow 3 to 4 inches when they're in puberty. And I've seen that in my own daughter. She's grown 4 inches each year for the last 2 years. I mean, they just shoot up. And so it's their body is growing, their breasts start growing, pubic hair starts to happen. All those things start growing all kind of simultaneously. And so you start to see your little girl just transition. And part of it, you know, your mama's heart, you start mourning the loss of your little girl, and we should, but at the same time, we need to just embrace the opportunity we have for her to become this young woman, and that we're going to have a lifetime to have a friendship with her. And so if we can invest in these tween years and these teen years, I mean, the rewards for that can last a lifetime.
Yeah. I was thinking that earlier when you were talking about those dates and all of that. And I was thinking back to that time with my mom. And I do feel like that's when we transitioned from being more mother-daughter to really being more of friends. And I remember her even telling me, because you get so hormonal. I was thinking about all the changes that happen. There's so many hormone changes. And I remember her saying to me sometimes, you know, you can choose. We can be like every other mom and daughter at this time and not like each other, or we can be friends. Oh, I hated it. But I would always say, oh, I want to be friends.
Fine.
And she'd say, okay, well, that's what I would prefer too. And she would always say it in such a nice tone. It made it even worse. But I'm glad that she did.
That's good. That's good. And it's true, you know, and part of it is not, you know, tweens' faults. I mean, they have all these hormones going through their body. So they do have a lot of emotions that they don't know how to handle or think through or wrestle through. But I think, you know, giving them the choices, I don't know that we should let them off the hook and just let them be mean to their siblings or be whiny or complaining. You know, they still have a choice of how they handle what's emotionally going on, and just giving them some outlets to talk through that is good. But if you do have a tween, I mean, there is going to be unexpected tears.
What are some of the heads up that mom should have?
Yeah.
Like, this is coming.
Yes.
Or this is normal for moms who are in it right now to
absolutely.
know, like, your child's not crazy and you're not crazy.
Yeah. The first thing you'll start to notice when puberty starts physically happening to them is they start to get breast buds. So their breasts will start to kind of sprout a little bit, and you'll start to notice that, and you'll start to think, oh my goodness, is it time to go shopping for that first bra? So, but they tend to, their breasts start to feel a little tender, and so they'll start to maybe be sore and notice that. So they'll either start saying my chest hurts, or sometimes they say my stomach hurts because they don't really know what's going on, So that's a good conversation to start talking about breasts a little bit. And that's usually the first sign. And then pubic hair starts to follow pretty quickly after that, and underarm hair. So, if your daughter, whether she takes a bath or a shower, it's a good time just to pop in on her and, hey, do you need a clean towel? And just take a little check and see what's going on there, so that you're just aware. And her sense of privacy will start to increase too. She'll start to be more aware of wanting to, be behind a closed door to get dressed or take care of things. And so they need a little bit more privacy, and there'll definitely be some tears over things that you just might not even expect. Yes. We've seen tears over, playing a game and she did not want to play, and brother said, I want you to play, and she didn't want to play. And it was just an eruption of tears, and everybody at the table was like,
about a game?
What's going on? And I'm like, I'll be right back.
Yes.
So it's just this emotional surge that happens in their hearts and their minds, and it's hard for them to kind of figure that out,
Yeah. It's been interesting being pregnant with my kids kind of at different places right now.
Yeah.
That we've talked about, what hormones I have going on in my body.
Yes.
Because there's times when being in my third trimester right now, that there's times when I know, like, okay, I may not be being rational right now. So I have explained, what these hormones are. Yes. And that also you will have some of these similar hormones going on in your body. So when there's times that we'll have this conversation down the road to explain, hey, we may be feeling a little bit, extra right now.
A little extra.
And
that's good. I like that.
This is why.
This
and
is
that's
why.
Okay.
Yeah. But we can use some of the things that we've already seen. Like, I think a really great example is, when they lose their baby teeth and they have their grown-up teeth come in. So I always talk to my kids, hey, you've got a bigger, stronger tooth that God has already prepared for you. Yes. And so, they've navigated that change. And so if you can kind of make some similarities, some of the changes that they've actually transitioned to, so now God is preparing you for your bigger, better grown-up body, and so we've just got to talk about what that's going to look like and how we take care of it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's wonderful. So what are the ways that with Girl Tribe Nation, if I was a mom who was going to use this for my family or for my daughter, what would that look like?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, we've got resources online right now. We have our own podcast called Raising Amazing Tween Girls, and we have a YouTube show called Raising Amazing Tween Girls. And so each week we talk about one of the things about going through puberty with your tween girl and offer Girl Tribe Nation great date that they can do with that. But we've also just released our first class that is all about puberty, and it's called Growing Up Girl. And so it's an online class that girls can take where they learn about hair care and body care and skincare through puberty, because it's all different. Once you hit puberty, your hair gets oilier and your skin starts breaking out in pimples and all these things that you need to kind of talk through
and
from the very beginning level.
They don't know.
Yeah.
That was another thing I remember being surprised when I was teaching, that it's almost like there were two classes of kids, and it's like there was the group that nobody told them, and you're just like, oh, honey,
I know.
You just look like you need to be taken care of, even though probably the parents didn't change anything.
Right.
But that was the problem.
Right.
Is that they needed something.
They needed something
for them.
Right. So this curriculum goes on to talk about growing breasts and getting bras and getting your period and caring for your period. And then we do just a very basic session on reproduction. So it was
very tastefully done.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. I wanted to do something that gave them the basics, but it was age appropriate. So we don't need to take it to an adult level at this point, but just a basic understanding of where babies come from and how that happens and how it takes a mommy and a daddy and what that looks like, you know? So I liked to do it this way because especially, where we're at right now in our season of life, but it just makes it really easy to do at home. So you can either watch the episodes together as a mom and daughter and talk about it, or you as a mom can let your daughter watch it, and then each one has a great date that you can download or put on your phone and just go and do a discussion through each one, or offer a little gift or a token if you want to do something like that to just kind of build a little hope chest for her as she, matures and grows. And so that was kind of our intent, to offer that to moms and tween girls.
That's wonderful. Okay, so what would you say to the mom who said, okay, this is all great, but I'm kind of like, I have a 14-year-old now, and we haven't done any of this, and now we're kind of past it, like, what do I do?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Well, you have to start somewhere. And so this material is geared for tween girls, but it's the beginning level. So if you've already talked about all the things, this can be helpful to kind of go back and redo it. I have actually found that girls like to talk about this stuff. And usually when I go back and have conversations with girls about these things, something new kind of always comes up. They're at a different place of understanding, or they're a different place with their friends, and so new questions come up. So I think even if you have a 14-year-old, you could do this curriculum and go back, and she may be totally competent in some of these areas, but there's always going to be something new to kind of learn or think through, or another question that's going to come up.
I think so too. I was thinking the same thing as I was watching it. So I was thinking about how at different ages, they really a lot of times only take in really what they need to know.
Exactly.
And then cling to that. And like, how many times have I read a book that I take something totally different during a different season of life than I do at a later season when I read the same book? Absolutely. And also thinking about the questions that it would bring up, that even if the material is exactly the same, the question that it would bring up in a 9-year-old's mind is going to be very different than the questions for a 12-year-old's mind or a 14-year-old's mind.
Absolutely.
That might really open the door, especially during the great dates and during those kind of question answering times, just of discussion with your child, intentional discussion, which is so different than just casual conversation. But those really might open the door to some really important conversations, even as girls are getting older.
Yeah, and that's one thing we talk about too. We don't want to give the idea that we're going to have one discussion about breasts and bras and we're done. You really want to keep that communication path open and have multiple conversations about it, like when she's ready to change her bra size or go shopping on her own, or are you going to let her go shopping with her friends, or is that just something mom and she do together? So there's all kinds of avenues that you can take with it. And you're absolutely right. There can be a 10-year-old that's ready for bras and a 12-year-old who's not. And so it really is such a strange, awkward, challenging time for these kids to hang out together, because they can be the same age and look very different.
Well, and I think it's so different, even what's going on in their heads too, because like, I know that in our home growing up, I would not ask any questions. And it wasn't because I didn't was not wanting to. I genuinely just didn't think about it.
Yes.
Or care. And I remember at one point my dad told my mom, okay, you guys are going to go somewhere and do not come back until you've talked to her. And she was like, I've tried so many times. She won't ask me anything. She turned on nature videos for us to watch of animals that were conveniently mating. So maybe someone will ask a question. I had nowhere on my radar was I concerned at all. So it was like, it had to be brought up, but it wasn't awkward to me, because it was just a conversation. And then when it was brought up, I was like, okay. And then I remember, because it was always something that we did, that then when I got engaged and was getting ready to get married, we got to go together, and she took me shopping for lingerie, the two of us. And it was such a special thing. That's fun. I remember some of my friends being like,
you go out with their mom?
With your mom, totally. and she was like, and I was like, yeah, of course. And it was like, we would never have done that. But I was so thankful that we started so early on.
That's so great.
That it just became this special thing, and it was never, so uncomfortable.
No, so it wasn't awkward. And that's the way it should be, And I think for most, you had such a great mom, Krista, but and all of us have great moms, but they just have different comfort levels, know? And I think that's what I would tell a mom who might be just really stressed about this, because for most moms, their heart pounds and their hands get sweaty and they get,
Oh, I'm sure my mom did too, but I didn't know.
Yeah. And
I wasn't worried about her discomfort.
Yeah. The thing I would say is you don't have to tell them everything all at once.
No.
It really is based on where they're at. And so you might feel like you're going to have this really long developed conversation where you're like having to reveal all kinds of things. And they're probably not ready for that, But if you can just start a conversation by, hey, have you ever heard the word sex? Do you know what that means? And they'll either be like, oh yeah, I heard that at school. And you're like, oh, what did you hear? And then they have something completely off the wall. Or if whatever they've heard, you've got a starting point, And so, and that's why I loved these videos too, or reading a book together, because that gives you a starting point to like be able to have a common language and then ask some questions about what they're hearing, what they're thinking, what they feel about that.
And it's so non-threatening.
Yes.
As a mom, I really enjoyed that about watching these, that I thought, I would really feel comfortable sitting down with her and doing this together, and she would think it was special. Good. And so I'll look forward to that.
Yay! I'm so glad.
Okay, so if people want to follow you or find out more about this, I'll put all the links in the show notes.
Perfect.
So that they can find it all there.
But
go ahead and you can just share. Where can they find you if they want
Well,
to
we're
know more
online.
about
We're girltribenation.com. So you can find us online on our website. And then we're also on Instagram and Facebook at Girl Tribe Nation. You can find us there.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Lisa. I so appreciate it.
Thanks, Krista.
I think this is going to be super helpful.
Oh, I hope so.
Thanks.
What an opportunity you have to invest in the young ladies that God has put in your life. As a mother, caretaker, or mentor, you are in the privileged position to have a chance to help guide them to a life of purpose where they can feel smart, healthy, brave, and happy. Like all challenges we take on as parents, be intentional with this mission and create a plan to begin speaking into the heart of your daughters. If your children are still young, do not wait. Start teaching them now about how God created them. I recommend 2 beautiful picture books for young children. First, God Made All of Me by Justin S. Holcomb. And second, When God Made You by Matthew Paul Turner. These books will open the door to conversations about their bodies and create a normalcy around the discussion of their physical growth. I will link both books in the show notes. If you have a daughter in or going into those tween years, consider enrolling in Growing Up Girl from Girl Tribe Nation and plan that into this season. If you're interested in this fantastic resource, use the promo code seekwhollyliving for 10% off your subscription this week only. I will link Growing Up Girl in the show notes. If you have a daughter who is in her teens, think about where she is in her growth journey and make a date to start those conversations that you wish someone would have had with you when you were in her shoes. It's never too late to begin walking with your daughter as she navigates through this challenging but rewarding season in her life. Lastly, if you are listening to this and a niece, granddaughter, or another sweet girl came to your mind, then share this podcast with whoever cares for that young lady. You may be providing the help and encouragement that she needs to support that important mother-daughter relationship. Now, I want to hear ways that you are able to begin and nurture a relationship with your tween girls. Do you have any advice for moms in this season? Please share your comments below or on social media at seekwhollyliving. Thank you for joining us today. Be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts so you don't miss any of our weekly conversations. And check out our show notes below, where I have links to the resources mentioned on the podcast. I release a new podcast every Monday and additional content at seekwhollyliving.com, including a video of this conversation and a deeper dive into all things mom. Also, be sure to follow me on Instagram and Facebook at seekwhollyliving for more fun and conversation. If this was an encouragement to you, please share it with your friends.
And join us next week as we share insight on hosting simplified.